All right, we are in Algebra 1. Today's date is Wednesday, September 18th. Please write it down, your name and date. Move this wire. There it goes. Okay, Wednesday, September 19th and 18th. I don't know what I'm saying. September 18th, 2019. We're doing two-step equations today. So our objective is really easy. I'm just going to throw that out there. Oh, I forgot to assign a game warden for today as well. I can get that going. Who's our game warden? Haziel, if you want to be a game warden, you can. Would you like to be a game warden today? All right. Let's get this nice and set up. Haziel, do you believe that everyone immediately came in and started working on the warm-up?
No.
Okay, then it's your call to make. You remember how to do it? So, again, we have our metaphor for two-step equations. There were so many boxes that we're going to have to hand draw them this time. So go ahead and make three unknown boxes on the left. So 1, 2, 3. Put question marks in them, question mark, question mark. But in addition, I need a total of 5 pounds. So I can do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 pounds on the left.
Also on the left?
All on the left. And on the right, we're going to have a ton. We're going to have 17 of those 1 pounds. So don't erase them. Yeah, it was a lot of writing. So make 17 of these 1 pounds. So 17 boxes. Try to count them. All right, so I have my 17 on the right, my 5 pounds, and the 3 unknowns on the left. Obviously, our scale is getting a little bit crazy because we're getting harder and harder problems now. Now, if I just look at the problem, it's kind of hard to tell what those unknown blocks weigh. I would say maybe 2, 3, 4, maybe 1. Probably not 1. I would guess 2 or 3 or 4. But I don't know for certain. It might be 2.3. It might be a decimal this time. We don't know, and we can't be sure. It's not as easy as the last 2 days. You think you got it? All right. Go for it, Charles.
Would each of the mystery blocks be 4?
4? How'd you get that?
So I took away like 5 blocks here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I just didn't count the rest. Then I counted the rest up. And then I divided it by 3, and I got 4.
Yeah, perfect. So I'll take your card. So because I'm not walking around, because I'm kind of stationary now, if you guys just want to kind of pass your card around and throw them in the inbox, and then Haziel will get the 50 XP for you. So Charles got the 50 XP. I have the participation card. We're all good. Everyone's laptop should be shut also. Yeah, so I will run through what Charles did so that we can all update our notes. So first, we need to, again, take off blocks from both sides. Charles said, I'm going to take off 5 blocks from the left, 5 blocks from the right, so let's just cross out those boxes. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the left, gone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the right, gone. The balance should still be preserved if I'm taking off the same from the left and the right. That was based off of 2-1 note, or 2-1's notes. I'm allowed to take off things on the left, things on the right. And now I can see that each of these unknown blocks corresponds to a column that I have in my notes. I have 1, 2, 3 columns that are exactly the same, and I have 1, 2, 3 unknown blocks on the left. That means each unknown block goes with 1 column. You can kind of imagine stacking, you don't have to write this in your notes, you can imagine stacking each unknown block above the row, and then they're perfectly distributed. So Charles told us, well, just divide by 3 or take 1/3 of each side. So if I take 1/3 of each side, I'm essentially crossing off 1, 2 of the unknown blocks, and I'm crossing off those 2 rows. I'm left with just 1 row of 4 blocks on the right and 1 unknown block on the right, or on the left, sorry.
So you should set this stuff up like rows.
It helped by making it into rows to see it, but you don't have to do rows. As long as you're taking exactly 1/3 of each side, or you're taking off 5 from each side, you're okay. Larissa?
So 1 square is 1 row? Like 5 cubes?
So it was a column, I guess. You don't have to set it up into columns. It just helped to see that mine did have nice columns, but as long as you're crossing off 8 out of the 12, then you're good.
Okay.
Yeah. So does everyone follow the logic? We took 5 from each side, and then we took a third of each side. You're allowed to take fractions of each side. You're allowed to take off constants of each side, and the balance should still be preserved. So we get that our unknown block, this question mark block, is equal to 4. Or if you want to be really pedantic about it, again, pedantic being a word where you're being way too technical, like over the top, you don't need to do this, 1, 1, 1, and 1. That's exactly what our question mark block was. It was 4 pounds.
So
Or is there a question?
would this mean that you do the last 2 steps of PEMDAS backwards? Like it goes addition and subtraction and multiplication.
100% correct. Yeah, we're doing PEMDAS backwards. Instead of going from the top to the bottom, we go from the bottom to the top. So we subtracted, which is that bottom rung, and then we did multiplication by fraction or divided by 3. So that's the next rung up. Yeah, good insight. All right, so is there a quiet raised hand that can convert this balance into some sort of equation? What would the equation version of that be? Oh, questions don't need a card. Cards are for when you like answer questions, I guess. All right, is there a quiet raised hand, hopefully with a card that can turn this into an equation? What was actually happening here? That's not a card. Oh yeah, aim in a card.
Well, the equation would be a plus 5.
How many of those A's?
3a plus 5
Ah, there it is. Okay, so 3A plus 5.
equals 17.
All right, if everyone could please write this, 3A plus 5 is equal to 17. And I try to color code it in my notes as well. So the blue corresponds with blue, yellow with yellow. Yeah, thank you, Eamon. And then you can slowly pass your card through, and then it'll eventually, hopefully, end up in my inbox. All right, so that means I need to do what? Can someone redo Charles's steps, but now in the equation form? Is there a quiet raised hand that has a card? Oh yeah, a card right over here. Wyatt. You can go up on the board. Yeah, go for it. And even better, so that it shows up in the video too. Let me get this working.
Oh.
You should be able to just draw on the notes. I'll give you. Yeah, you're working with green right now. Go for it. Theoretically, it should be working.
First, I would probably minus 5, and
I don't know.
then subtract 5 from each side, so then you have 3a equal to 12. Then divided by 3 divided by 3a equal to 4.
Cool. And finally, we.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, nicely done. You can put it back up there.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Wyatt.
Oh yeah, here's my card.
Cool. And then Haziel got the 50 XP as well. Yeah, there it is.
I'm the Carter inner box. Carter
That's right, my handwriting.
in the box.
Yeah, the only thing that I would probably do slightly differently is whenever I see the same thing on the top and bottom when I'm doing addition and subtracting, if I'm doing 5 minus 5, I know that those cancel out. 3 and 3, those cancel out. But everything else, that's exactly what I would have done.
That's so cool.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, eventually if you guys don't like writing on the board, you can write over here. It's a little bit disconcerting to write over here and see your mouse show up over here.
That's how you do it so fast.
Yeah, it's a little tablet. So I want to go to Eamon right now. Eamon said something really cool, and it's actually part of the notes. Eamon talked about the order of operations. So without looking up on the wall, try to fill in the order of operations again.
Normally?
What is like first? What do you normally do first when you're simplifying? It starts with P, and you probably remember the acronym. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, PEMDAS. Yeah, parentheses starts first, so fill in the letters. So I'm curious also, how many of you by show of hands have seen this exact form where it's M and D side by side, A and S side by side? This exact form, or do you just see it in a row?
Both. I'd say they're both.
When I was in elementary school and in high school, what I did is PEMDAS instead of M and D and A and S side by side. And the reason that I read it like this is because M and D are on the same level. You can do either or. If you see multiplication and division, just go left or right. It doesn't matter. One doesn't come before the other. You definitely have to do parentheses first. You definitely have to do exponents first. But when you get to multiplication and division, it doesn't matter. Just go left or right. So you can do division first and then multiplication, or multiplication then division. Same thing for addition and subtraction. Just go left or right. Question?
Roots also fit between exponents and multiplication and division.
So we'll learn in this class that roots are technically an exponent. And if you want to get ahead of the class, you can say that, like, if I have x, the square root of x, that is x to the power of 1/2. You are actually talking about an exponent here.
Oh.
So it is actually this level of exponent. But again, that's way more advanced than this unit. We're not going to get there for a while. But yeah, good insight. All right. So when we simplify, we are going down this way. This is the normal way of going on PEMDAS. Write this arrow also. When we go down, this is what happens when we simplify. So this is simplify. Another way of thinking about this is what we do when we're on one side of the equal sign. So on one side of the equals to. So if I'm only on the left, then I'm going straight down. If I'm only on the right, I'm going straight down because I am simplifying the expression. And again, an expression is just a giant list of things, a list of terms with no equal sign. If I'm just on one side of the equal sign, then I'm going down with PEMDAS. I'm going in the correct order. But today, we are doing, as Eamon said, we are going this direction. We are going in the reverse order, and that is because we are isolating the variable. And I love this word. This word that starts with U. It's 4 letters. It's what we're really doing to X to get it. Kira. Undo.
I need to give my card right.
Yes, please. Somehow, I know it's kind of hard. You're going to have to pass it around. Undo. And then Haziel got your 50 XP. We are undoing. That's the whole reason we're going backwards with PEMDAS. We're normally doing PEMDAS, but now we need to undo what's happening to X. So what we're going to do when we start solving number 1 is we're first going to read what is happening to A. What did A do? I had to multiply by something. I had maybe subtract by something. I don't know. What happened to A? We need to tell its story, and then we need to undo its story. That's how you solve for a variable. All right, so, and I'm basically going to be writing the same word here. Solving for a variable means you're doing what? All of the operations being done to it with a quiet raised hand. Is there a quiet raised hand that has a card? Ulysses?
Undo.
Again, undo. I guess it's a verb here, so undoing. All the operations being done to it. All right. Questions up to this point? Give me a fist of 5. How well are you following the lesson unless there's a question out there? Question, Larissa?
One side of what? Like, what is, why did you put that?
So, yeah, let me clarify. Let's say I have some equation. Well, I guess here is an equation. I don't even have to make one. If I had to do some simplification and I'm only dealing with the left-hand side, I'm ignoring the equal sign, I'm ignoring the 47. If I'm only looking at 5a plus 7, maybe there was another 7a plus 5a. Maybe first I would have to simplify. 7a and 5a, they're like terms. Again, we're going to get to that later. You probably have seen it before. But I can combine 7a and 5a by going down with PEMDAS. I'm only on the left. I can add these together. I can go in this direction. Maybe there are parentheses out here that I have to deal with first, but if I'm only dealing with the left-hand side of the equation, then I go down and I say, okay, okay, I'm finally down here at addition, and then I come and say that's 12a plus 7. Okay, now it's been simplified. Now I need to start undoing it. So you always simplify each side and then undo.
Oh, okay.
All right, good question. Other questions? I saw mostly 4s and 5s. For the fist of 5. So let's go ahead and start with example 1. First, I need a quiet raised hand. What is being done to A? Can someone tell me A's story? I do something, then something, and magically I get 47. Jade?
You're adding it.
So tell a story. So here I am. I'm A. What happens to be first? I'm A, and then operation. Am I adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing?
Adding.
I'm adding to
7.
close. Adding to 7 happens later. That happens down here at the bottom row. You're telling me my story from this direction. What happens to me first? I'm A. There's only one other number. It's 5. What is 5 being done to A? I'm A. What happens to B?
Being multiplied.
So say it again. A is being
A is being multiplied into
by
by 5.
5. And then
Added by 7.
and then that will give me 47. Exactly. So you have told a story, so you can pass in your card. Haziel will get you your 50 XP. So again, the crucial thing here is when a number is squished next to a variable, that means multiply. We learned that in yesterday's lesson. So a was multiplied by 5, then added 7. So we need to undo that. We're going backwards now. Do I see any addition or subtraction I can undo? I do. Let's undo it. I have plus 7. The inverse operation of plus is minus, so I'm going to minus 7 on both sides. Minus 7, minus 7. Everyone write it down. All right. Well, these 7s are gone. Cross them off. 7 minus 7 is 0. It's gone. I just have that 5a. And 47 minus 7 is nice and easy. That's 40. I need to make my 4 slightly better. Okay, I'm going to retell a story. What's happening to A? Well, A is being multiplied by 5. Whenever I have them squished next to each other, that means multiply by 5. The most common mistake when solving two-step equations is thinking if there's a -5 or a 5 or anything that's squished next to it, I have to add or subtract that. Undo multiplication, I'm going to have to divide both sides by the thing next to the variable. The thing next to the variable is 5. I'm going to divide both sides by 5. So everyone do that. Divide both sides by 5. How do you show that work? You do it first, then check up on the board to see if you did it correct. I'm making sure that everyone is doing this. Looks like some of us are already done. I'm going to divide both sides by 5. Did you show it this way? Nod your head, one way or the other. Good. All right. Then from here, the 5 and 5 will cancel each other out. They're both gone. Cross them off. If you're on the top and the bottom of your division, you're crossing them off. And I'm left with A isolated. The whole idea of isolating the variable. The variable is by itself. A is now equal to 40 divided by 5, which is there a quiet raised hand that can do that, Emma? It is indeed 8. Thank you, Emma. And then Haziel got your 50 XP. Again, you first need to tell your variable's story, then you need to undo that story. The story is with PEMDAS. Undoing the story is going backwards with PEMDAS. All right, we're on our final example, example 2 on the back. I need to solve for n. I need a quiet raised hand that can tell me n's story. What happens to n? Esha.
I'm pretty sure n gets divided by -4 and added by 2.
That's all I'm looking for. Yeah, thank you. Take your card right here. Perfect. We have n's story. And that story is correct. So I now need to undo that story with reverse order of operations. Is there a quiet raised hand, again, with a card that can tell me what to do first? Larissa? You are correct that you could multiply -4 to both sides. It might be a little bit hard to do that because you would have to distribute the -4 into both of these two terms. There is an easier way to do it.
Could you make one,
My hint for you is look at PEMDAS up on the wall. Start on that bottom rung. Do you see any addition or subtraction that you can undo? You could subtract 2 from both sides. So your method of doing it is still correct. You're still balancing the weights, and there isn't anything wrong aside from it's kind of the harder path. I want to show you guys the easiest possible path. So subtracting 2 is the easiest possible path. So perfect, you can turn in your card. Well, in a sec. Subtract 2 from both sides, and tell me what my new equation states after I subtract 2 on both sides.
that's going to out 28 equals n over -4.
Perfect. All right, thank you. You can turn in your card, pass it around. Haziel got your 50 XP. And then someone tell me what to do next. What do I need to do to both sides? I'm hopefully going to call on a person with a card unless everyone has their card in. You want to give it a shot, Haziel? You don't have to. If you don't want to. All right, Kira, tell us what to do.
So you need to multiply -4 times itself and times 28.
So -4 on both sides. -4 multiplied to 28, -4 multiplied to n. And again, if you don't like fractions, you can think of this as -4, all of this over 1, and you can multiply the fraction straight through. But I think a lot of us are really clever and know that if I have a 4 on the top, 4 on the bottom, they should cancel each other out. And I can cross those guys out right now. Cross them out, and I'm just left over with what's on the right-hand side, Kira? Bless you.
28 times -4 is number which way it goes.
So I'll give you a hint. So if I have 25 cents and I have 4 of those 25 cents, I have 3 cents and 4 of those 3 cents. 25 plus 3 is 28. So if I have 4 quarters, how much money do I have? So that's 100. What about 4 times 3?
12.
Add them together.
112.
Oh, you are so good. It is indeed 112, but a negative times positive is a negative. And then, Kira, what do I have on the right-hand side now that everything has been canceled out aside from the variable? N. And what am I going to do for my final step, Kira? There it is.
-4 times 28.
All right, and then Haziel got Kira's 50 XP. Yeah, that's it. 2-step equations.
Should we check?
We can check the work. Yeah, let's do it. Do you want to run through it? Yeah. Do you want to try using the tablet? It'll be pretty fun.
Oh, yeah.
It's
I
really.
have permission.
Yeah, go for it. You have permission to touch my laptop.
You won't die.
See if you can do it. All right, everyone's following along. We're checking our work. How are we gonna do this?
This is
That's
weird.
not really-
So it tracks on wherever you are. So if you hold it to the right, you will always be on the right. If you hold it to the left, you will always be on the left, no matter how much you move it.
How long have you had that for?
I've had this for probably 3 years.
30.
So I know it's hard to multitask. Is it okay if I talk while you write?
Yeah.
All right, so he is rewriting the equation, but in the place of n, he is substituting our -112 in for n. And he's still rewriting the rest of the equation right now.
Sorry, a little slow.
Oh,
You're good.
4.
Oh man, he does his math so fast. How did he find out that 112 divided by 4 was 28?
-112 divided by.
Oh yeah, negative over -2. He's so fast.
So fast.
If you didn't get that, like, there's the answer. 30 is equal to. Woo!
And my check is always a square root. That's my check. Is a
Your
square
check
root.
is a square root. All right. Thank you, Wyatt.
You're welcome.
All right, we checked our work. There's his check that looks like a square root.
Do I get 50 XP?
You do get 50 XP. Thank you, Haziel. Cool. Any questions for this lesson? Throw up that Q if you do. Fist of 5 for now. How well do you understand how to do 2-step equations? 2-step equations. I see a 4, a 5, a 5, a 4.
Double 4.
A double, an 8. It's a 5, a 5, a 4. Is that a 5, Charles, or a 4?
I don't know. 4.
I'll give you a 4.5. Okay, the lowest score is 4, which is a pretty good score. Let's see if you can prove that to me on Khan Academy right
I
now.
already did that this morning.
Oh my gosh, okay. Then you are done.
Nothing else to do.
You have to wait to do your summary, so yeah, there's nothing else for you to do. That is it for 2-3. Thank you, Eamon, for catching that. It's a teacher error. I'll log it. So, this is going to be example number 3. Ejemplo número 3. Example number 3. So, what happens if I have, let's see if I can make one up on the spot. Let's do 30 is equal to -2 times, we'll make it x plus 4. That should work out nicely. Should be a negative answer. Yeah, all right. So, there's your example 3. What do I do when I have parentheses? There's a word that starts with a D whenever I have parentheses. I wonder how many people have remember that word.
Oh, wait.
Kira, what is that word?
Distribute.
Distribute. We are going to distribute. Write down this word if you forgot it. We are going to distribute I know Haziel has a lot to write, and he has to give Kira the 50 XP, but we are going to distribute this -2, we're including the negative, into each of these two terms, so this entire -2 is going to be multiplied by x and by 4. So when I distribute, Mr. Sandell will do this because we're kind of low on time and I want to give you time to do the homework. The left-hand side does not change. The left-hand side is still 30. The right-hand side now is going to change. I am going to multiply -2 by x, and you just squish those together. So -2x. The next one, I think someone else can tell me. When I distribute the -2 into the next number, what number should I get, Larissa?
8.
Careful. -2 times 4 is a
Oh, -8.
-8. There it is. Thank you, Haziel, for getting Larissa's 50 XP. And then from there on, it's the same exact thing. But make sure that you distribute. Is there a question, Charles? Or you just want to do that? I'm going to stop right there and do because I think everyone knows how to solve the rest of this problem. Well, maybe. I guess we'll just, yeah, Charles, let's solve it real quick. Go for it.
Okay. You would do plus a -8 to both sides. So
Ooh.
it would turn the plus.
So just do the opposite of subtract 8. Opposite of subtract 8 would be,
Plus 8.
there it is. So plus 8 on both sides.
And then it would get 38 equals -2x. And then you would divide the -2x and the -38, and you would get 19 or -19 equals x.
Perfect. Yep, you are totally correct. I'm going to pause because people are still writing to that middle step. Make sure you got to that step. And then Charles finally said, again, I'm repeating him, divide both sides by the -2. Divide by -2 on both sides. And you do indeed get -19 on the left. These -2's are all gone here. And that's just left with x on the right. So that is how you distribute. If you want I'm going to do like a quarter example. What happens if I had a -3 times 2x minus 4? This final example is kind of like example 3.5. I just want to make sure that we know how to distribute well, Wyatt.
You would distribute the -3 into the 2x and the -4.
To get,
So it would be -6x plus 12.
there it is. That's all I want to show you guys. 2 different examples of how to distribute.
And then would you not have to do anything after that -6x plus 12?
Well, because I didn't have any equal sign, so I can't solve. I just want to show you how to distribute. It's just kind of a half example. Normally there would be an equal sign and then you'd have to solve, but I just want to show you this is how you distribute when you have a coefficient, a number in front of the x, aside from 1. Question, Larissa.
If the -3 wasn't a negative, would the sign just be subtracted?
Exactly. It would be a positive minus something. Yeah.
How much time do we have?
We get out of here at 53, so we have 14 minutes.
14 to do the homework that I already did.
Precisely.